Verse 26, if Yeshua had to go on earth and offer his blood, nothing would have made sense because he would have had to do it over and over and over again every year at Yom Kippur. And that's what he's trying to say in verse 26. He would have to suffer repeatedly every Yom Kippur since the foundation of the world, because man cannot repair the breach using his own blood. Human blood couldn't satisfy the debt. It required an immortal life, the power of an indestructible life, like we read about in chapter 8. So he appeared in heaven once and for all at the end of the age to put away sin. There's our economic language again. In other words, the payment language, the atonement, which answers to payment. To put away sin, right? He paid the price so that sin had to be put out of the picture because the payment had been made fully by the sacrifice of himself. And just as it appointed, verse 27, for man to die once, and after that comes judgment, Yeshua also died only once. He should not and cannot die multiple times over and over again like the animals. In essence, you could say the animals died once, right? We don't resurrect the animal and use the same animal over and over again, but there were multiple animal sacrifices. So the overall picture of the animal sacrificial system was that there was repeated use of blood in order to make a payment over and over again, which spoke of the inefficiency of the mortal blood of animals to actually pay the ultimate price of what we call the corporate sin of Adam, the sin that was brought into picture when Adam himself violated the contract of God's terms. So Yeshua was only going to need to die once, and that satisfies the heavenly books once and for all. The blood of Yeshua has been poured out at the heavenly level in God's Holy of Holies at the heavenly level, and therefore the debt has been paid from an eternal perspective, and therefore, as long as we place our trust in that transaction, there's no more payment necessary. There's no more need for Yeshua to die over and over again. That's what he says in verse 27. And then finally, he gives us a summary. So Christ having been offered once, this answers to the same word once up here in verse 27, which answers to the same word once up here in 26, right? Linking Gezerah, Shavah, whatever, I suppose, between the linking of these same words. 26, 27, 28 are all saying the same thing. Christ died once. So having been offered once to bear the sins of many, and the word bear here is reminds us of carrying sins, right? Bearing of sins. Anenenkin is the Greek word there, to bear the sins. He will appear a second time, not to bear sins, but to save those who are eagerly awaiting him. And in other words, when we say deal with sin, we're talking about payment. And where did we read about the payment? Where did we read about payment earlier? Well, scroll all the way back up, starting in verse 12, redemption. See how he started in verse 12? And he brought us full circle with redemption. Eternal redemption, that's the payment language right there, which answers all the way down to verse 28 to deal with sin, or to pay for sin.